We got miracles going on right now. Finally, God said it was so hot, he sent Florida ice water. Ice! We got ice coming down like this! Good morning, YouTube. Hope everything's going well. Last time I talked to Noah, you won your baseball game. And, it's pretty hard for me. It's that pride thing that we create. Let's talk about the new face of homelessness. The educated, heartfelt face of homelessness. I'm gonna go donate plasma, help get my money for food, gas, insurance, and my little poker playing, aside from friendly gifts that I receive from a few friends that I've been blessed with. But the things that I truly wasn't blessed with was that truly loving, caring, nurturing, positive, reinforcing mom and dad that most people get. We'll continue this conversation later. All right, since the last time let me turn down out gas. Got the plasma donated, and I had one of my, I like to say clients, but someone called me to pull some weeds, so I just came and pulled the weeds. But I want to get back to my conversation on the new face of homelessness. The new face of homelessness. It's not a new face, it's an old face, and it's probably the same face of homelessness. So I want to talk about what's led me to get into this position that I am, because I am on the upper class of homelessness. I do have a van. I have paid my insurance. I do live in my van, so I'm not, like on the street, but it's a pride thing. It's, I think we're just going to have to start at the beginning, really. I don't know if I want to do that on the drive or not. Hold on. Alright, I just got me some gas and a drink. I'm going to go and say hi to Grandma. Imagine doing the very best you could, like your whole life, and coming from a not the best environment, like not supportive, and always kind of like either pranked you or ridiculed you or made fun of you or bullied you, and until you got to a certain age where your body and your physical features no longer accepted those kind of advances. Imagine being born into a family as a child movies, whatever you did in theater, or just nothing really mattered, because you weren't created for that love. You were created for a future paycheck based on lineal descendancy. To be continued. It's raining. It's a rainy day. Trying to call Sam. He called me.
You have reached the voicemail box
No answer.
9044.
Should mow a lawn, but it's raining. I think we should just add that to our new Sunday run we got. We've got 5 yards now. Homelessness. A lot of people take light of this serious situation. We all really truly have one home, and it's this earth that we live on. Everything else is kind of like storage for trash, bedrooms, sitting areas, places to clean up, places to eat. So what makes me that face of homelessness? The only thing that I know to do is take it all the way back to the very, very, very beginning. The one thing that my education has taught me is about the cause and effectual relationship of actions. The impact of inciting incidences. And kind of like how environment plays a big role in a lot of different things. Let me roll this window up. See a little rain there. Let me stop this. All right, I'm doing this without a script. I've really been thinking about this a lot, because I know that I got really mad at the internet to kind of like separate from my homeless topic here for a moment. Because I felt like it was belittling all the education that it takes to do something. I'd worked so hard to study and learn and to do all these things that were outside of what most people would expect someone like me to do from where I came from and my environment. That I just saw these people getting these phones with cameras and easy stuff to just go around and record something, and it was like belittling like the whole story process, like the whole playwright process, and everything was just kind of like instant gratification, duty humor, potty humor. You know, it's really easy to make fun of people and get other people to join in and laugh, because it's a defense mechanism that most people have. If I can say something, or someone can say something about someone else to someone, it makes them feel better about saying it. Most of the times it's a negative thing that they're saying. Oh, did you hear this? Do you know this? Do you know that? When in reality, none of it's even true, and it's all baloney. So that's why I really didn't post a whole lot on the YouTube thing. I was feeling like it was a sellout, really. It was just a sellout, and I was real upset about it for years, probably from like 2005, 2006 on. And then I realized that all these people without education, they were making stuff happen, and I knew I had more, talent than any of them. I'm going to quote some Chekhov now. More talent than any of them. They're the conventional stiff-necked who have usurped to the highest places in the arts today and regard only what they do themselves as genuine, legitimate. Everything else they stifle and suppress, and I felt like I was one of the, in the quote, I felt like I was being stifled and suppressed based on the fact that I didn't have anyone who really cared. No love, no support structure. So then when I got into these specific environments, I was always highly defensive because people didn't think I belonged, but I had more talent than any of them. I always did my job. I was always there on time. I always did more than what was expected of me, and I always did it with a smile. It's that hatred. I'm separating. Let me go back to this face of homelessness that I am now. This high class face of homelessness here. Maybe I should put my teeth in. There. The new face of homelessness. I just don't talk right with these things in. Well, my father was murdered in 1980. My mother had me 3 months after her 16th birthday, and she was taken advantage of. Her family had just immigrated here to America in 1969, 1970. So you can just imagine, I always do all this backstory on why my grandmother's the way she is and why these people are the way they are. And you look at all their grooming, their conditioning, the development. And the unique thing about me is I wasn't like, I was treated like a piece of shit. My my mom really couldn't take care of me. And my father's mother took custody of me for the first 3 years of my life. During that time, my mom had befriended an older gentleman who then worked with her to get custody of me based on the lineal descendancy. I was the last bloodline that my father created. Well, that wasn't done out of love. That was done for property. And this man was he was an older man. He was actually mentioned in a book called, I'm sure you all heard of the musical West Side Story. This book's called East Side Story, and he's mentioned in the book several times, if anyone wants to look that book up. Well, this man was married to my mom for 21 days, and then they got an annulment. He was kind of like my stepfather. I spent a lot of time with him, but in reality, he was the guardian and custodian of what was left of me. And my mom never saw me as like a child. She saw me as like a future payment. So let's go on. I went to school. I went to kindergarten, and then we moved, a lot. We moved a whole lot, so I could never get stable. You know how like most people are stable when they're growing and developing. I was very unstable and always in a very violent, domestic violence, abusive home. And I always used school as kind of like my escape because it was a sanctuary. I mean, the teachers there, they liked me. I always tried to do well. I always tried to, do what was good, to be rewarded. Well, moving along, I was very into reading. I read a lot. I was usually just locked in a room with a bunch of books. The books that I remember reading over and over were The Eye of the Needle, The Seven Keys to Highly Effective People, uh, Sybil, the Holy Bible, and just a bunch of different books that you could get lost in your imagination. Well, I always was on honor roll and I always did well, but it was never good enough. And I wasn't given support. I was always just told, oh, you think you're smarter than everyone, and just beat down, or speak when spoken to and then beat down, or you're supposed to be seen and not heard and then beat down. So I was always locked in a room based on my mom's codependency until I turned like 12, 13. When I got 12, I'm about the same size as I was when I was 12. And I used to get in fights with all my mom's boyfriends and husbands, and early on to protect her and all that kind of stuff. And well, it got to a point when I was a kid, I always used to beg, please put me in baseball, please put me in football, and I just get beat down and just left in the room, go to school. Well, when I got to 12 years old, it was like, it was different for me. Everyone's like, oh, you're so much older than you are, you're an old soul. And I was always so full of optimism because I always knew I was going to get out of this. I was always going to be able to break free from this. And the education was going to help me do it. Well, I wanted to play football, and she said, no, you're not playing football. So then I got in the band, and I started playing trombone. I remember going to my concert, and, it's different when your friends are in activities and their parents are there and all that stuff. And when you're a kid and you're getting involved in all these activities and you're just, you're trying to do all this stuff to inspire and motivate, positivity in life, and everything you're doing is just like being like undermined, and like, it didn't matter what kind of good you tried to do, it just never was good enough. So, I saw a friend of mine and he had pictures of that concert, and I was so disheveled and I looked so trashy. But I remember that day and I was so proud. It was like but I didn't have anyone there from my family that were supporting me. So then I played football, and it was like the same thing in football. No one ever came to games. Maybe one game my mom came to when I was in senior high. I wrestled, no one came to the wrestling matches. I was in chorus, no one came to the concerts. I'd win awards and no one cared. It's just give me money, give me money. I remember I started working in high school and keeping books, and my mom was getting $400 a month from me. And I got that job just so I would be able to go on this theater trip for the International Thespian Society, the state festival. I was so proud. But then what changed it all now, what's leading into this face of homelessness, is then when you're in an environment like that, you tend to want to be outside of that environment when you're getting taken advantage of, and you're giving your heart and you're giving everything, and you're trying to work and you're trying to build that home, you're trying to build that house, but the house didn't want you to begin with. And I'm really trying to be delicate and tiptoe around a lot of things because I'm not trying to say some things that I know that'll, and once I say them, they can never be taken back, so I'm not going to say them yet. I was always into theater and filmmaking and acting from when I was a little kid. I did my first play at a church in Neptune Beach. Then I was always in advanced classes, and we did a play when I was in 5th grade. And I'd always, wanted to be on TV, wanted to be in the movies. So I was like, I always asked my teacher, what do you got to do? What do you got to do? And they're like, well, you're doing everything right now. You're doing it. So in high school, I went to the guidance counselor and I was like, look, I really want to do this. They're like, well, you need to go talk to the drama teacher. and I was playing football at the time. So I told my football coach I wanted to do drama. He's like, well, I'll go with you and we'll talk to the drama teacher. She said, yeah. And I was playing football, and that's where it really hit, because there was like a group of people I was around that I made myself vulnerable to. It was like the first time I'd like made myself vulnerable to a group of people, and I kind of like felt accepted. Like this was going to be the group of friends that I was going to have for life, but I realized that that's not the case either. And I always tried to work and do the things that, you know, would not just impress people, but have them accept me. Well, what changed is I attached myself to a girl, and it was like that whole soulmate thing, and you know, I was like, okay, there's my woman, and now we got to work on everything else. Well, what happens when you're young, you know, you've got jealousy and treachery and betrayal, and the people that you trust, you think are always going to trust you, but they're not in life for friendship and the same things that maybe, you know, you are. Well, I've always wanted to be looked at as someone honest, someone truthful, someone who defends people who can't defend themselves. Just a good guy. Well, when I met her, I was doing professional theater. I'd hurt my neck playing football, and I knew I wasn't going to get a scholarship playing football. And my theater teacher was like, just take drama seriously, and you can get school paid for. So I did. The very first play I did a ballet, and then the dance teacher gave me a scholarship, and then the voice teacher gave me a vocal scholarship. I used to take out her trash for voice lessons. But all during that whole time, my mother's addictions and just her it was crippling. Well, what I want to say is like truly like love this person, and I'd moved out from my mom, and I'd moved in with a good friend of mine from childhood. And we had this house, and I became a pre-need family counselor for a funeral home prior to me going to school. And started doing a play. During this play that I was in, I had a contract that was $2,500 per performance, so I stopped working at my other job in order to take care of my requirements for the contract, and I worked 6 months for no pay. And so everything that I had saved up and worked for was kind of like gone, and the one bill that I was neglecting was my car payment, because I was just going to pay everything off once I got paid from our first show. Well, we went to the first show, and we did the show, and then the producers ran off with the money, and so then I was battling back from that, and then I was like, I'm not going to do theater anymore. I'm upset because everyone's a liar, and so I started working on a casino boat, and I was writing a lot. I was writing monologues and plays and stories on barf bags, and my uncle was like, man, you ain't done no theater in a while. You don't do no play acting no more. I'm like, nah, man, I was mad because they ripped me off for $2,500 a show. I'm owed $7,500. I was just so mad, And I'm like, no one could help me. I went to the attorneys, and no one could help me. So he was like, who cares? And I was like, I care, man. I'm like, I'm supposed to get paid. All y'all tell me I give up all my time because you're forgetting like all these other things that I've done. I'd volunteered my time, and my family would always be like, you don't get paid, you're going to do this stuff, you don't get paid, you're dumb. So I never got paid, and I fought back from that. Anyway, I saw an audition in the paper, and me and my girlfriend, we had broken up because her girlfriend had said that all we did was have sex, and there was nothing to the relationship or whatever. I disagreed, but I'm like, I love you with everything, so whatever you want in your life, you're gonna do it, and when you're ready, you'll come back to me. And that I always felt that way, but obviously that shit just doesn't happen. So I went to an audition. I looked in the paper and I saw an audition for a world premiere play, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go do it. So I went to the audition, and everyone loved me at the audition, and I got cast. Did those plays, and then all of a sudden I had people from the newspaper calling me for interviews. But during this situation is where I met my first ex-wife, who's the mother of my children, Noah and Jordan, I believe. And I went back to help my mom out. I'd moved back in with my mom and my sister to help my mom out. Well, my mom was getting angry during these times when I'd bring Nicole over. And I'm like, who are you? I'm like, I give you $600 a month. And I got real angry at that. And Nicole was like, oh, why don't you just come live with me and Shelly? I was a roommate at the time, and I was like, you know what? I am. Let's do it. So I moved out of my mom's, and because I was feeling like she wasn't appreciating me, and which we all know that's the truth. She's just a user. Just give me, take. She used to tell me, I'll kill you. You know how easy it'd be? I'll have someone kill you for $20. You have no idea what that does to the mentality of someone. So why am I that face of homelessness? Well, my father was murdered. My grandmother on my father's side died. There was an infidelity issue, so my grandfather disassociated himself with that side of the family. So if you know anything about cheating or, just basic behavior, that was kind of like, I tried to search that out and work that out because I'd never met the man, and it didn't work out too well. So you try to do all these things and you get ripped off along the way. Like most people get a chance to build a momentum. And every time I was building my momentum, everything was always being pulled out from under me. Taken from me. Every time I was building up my momentum. Well, with Nicole, I was a great guy. I was like, I'm gonna prove to God, like I'm a great guy. And we ended up moving into our own place after a little while of living with Shelly. Shelly moved in with her boyfriend. We got rid of that place because it was too much, and we moved into an apartment. I started doing some more theater all around town at different theaters. And I was working for a friend of mine doing landscaping. I'd helped him start a company. Well, he really didn't want to increase my pay any. And my ex was like, he's really not your friend then if he's treating you that way. And I went to him and said, so we ended up parting ways. But he was my blood brother, he was my friend, So I started working for someone else, and then I started working at an equity theater, and I had a contract working at the equity theater. And during that job, I stopped working for another landscape company because they didn't want to pay me after I got certified to be a lawn spray technician. No one wants to pay me more than $8 an hour, and you can't live in this codependent society for like no less than $40,000 a year. So I got a job for a video company, a media production company, as a salesman. And while I was working for that company, I was a professional actor at an equity theater. Well, the owners of that place, Tom Kamala and David San Juan, they came to me and they were like, hey, you do acting in theater. Can you write us a script? Because we pay $10,000 a month just to be able to sell the rights to this video called Field Trip with Lamar Burton. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And he was like, we want it on character. And I was like, okay, like trust, honesty, conflict resolution, responsibility, courage, bravery. yeah, I can do that. So I ended up writing the series. I was supposed to get 10% of everything. They were going to take care of me, and then they didn't take care of me. And I'd written it 2 weeks because at the time my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, got pregnant with my son Noah, and she wanted to be closer to her family. So I put in my 2 weeks. We were going to move to Oklahoma, and I was going to start working there. Well, I put in my 2 weeks. Everything was all grand, and I get to Oklahoma, and I had a friend that worked there, and I call up this guy Judson, and he's like, oh yeah, man, you've sold like $1 million worth of this stuff already. I'm like, really? So I call up the owners. I'm like, hey, are you guys going to take care of me? And they're like, we ain't giving you nothing. And I was like, wow. They're like, well, you got a job if you want to. I'm like, I don't want a job. I'm like, you guys said that we were going to be in the Bahamas, soaring on the wings of eagles. These guys like walked around the office with a Bible, but they were just snakes. They were just treacherous, preying on the innocent, preying on the naive, preying on those people that didn't. So I didn't get paid through that. I got an attorney, tried to work for me, and I couldn't do it. We tried to bring it to a federal court in Oklahoma because they did business nationwide, and it didn't work out. So if you look up Shining Stars with Commander Gordon and the Space Station Learning Team, that is a series that I created. It's won the National Communicator Award. From what I've researched, it won an Emmy Award. And I don't have anything from it. Well, once that happened, I was like, I need to go to school. I'm like, I'm really talented in this, and I wanted to be like the guy who didn't go to school and was good and all this stuff, but obviously the people on the business end weren't about that, and I was like, I need to learn the business end of things. Well, I didn't learn any business stuff at school. I did get a scholarship. I did perform a lot. I did win some awards for directing and acting. But during the time of that, I was building a family. I was building a family with a woman that I trust. I'm like, hey, I'm making myself completely vulnerable to you. And I used to talk about Maslow's hierarchy. It was like, look, you're my wife. Now we've got to get to here, and we've got to get to here, and we've got to. Well, during the course of our marriage, some things happened. One of them being that stepfather I had died exactly 6 days after the birth of my son. Now, when that happened, I knew I needed to go back because there was some business that was going to need to be taken care of. But what happened is they did a lot of stuff undermining me and behind my back and just pretending that I didn't know about anything. And it's really hard when you don't have those social ties or anyone who would help you. They just rather take a little cut of something, a little piece of something. So, during our marriage, I was very proud of everything that I was doing. I was such a super dad. I was always with my kids. My kids were always with me. My children were always with me. I was like so proud. I was going to be the father that I never had. Because I was beat on, I was bullied. I was like, I dare anyone to try that with my children. Dare you! So I was like, super dad in my own mind, I'd like to believe. At least for, those first 6 years. Well, what happened was my wife graduated college before I graduated high school. She was real big into behavior and psychology. Well, she used to like get off on trying to make me break down because I opened up and made myself completely vulnerable to her. She'd always be like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." Like trying to get me to cry and break down, and I would sometimes. But hold on, my Rasta brother's out here. Let me say something. I was gonna say hi, but let me just keep on going. This is gonna be a long video. Well, there were a couple things in my life that I was adamant about. One was my family. Well, when I got to Oklahoma, she was like, we're your family now. So it was like no one in Florida meant anything. And I'm like, that can't be the situation, because this is before I got some knowledge that I have now, but I was like, they're depending on me to be the patriarch of the family. My stepfather died, my grandfather died. We came here, and then we were living in Durant, Oklahoma. This is after we had lived in Oklahoma City for a little while. We moved to Durant, Oklahoma, where I went to school. I got a scholarship for theater. I was recruited at an American College Theater Festival. Had a few schools tell me that they'd offer me, and talked to my wife, and based on her family and all the stuff, I chose this place that was close to her family, and I went to school there. I was good, and my wife at the time, she only had her bachelor's, and she was like, why don't you ask your director if he'll start a master's program? So I went and I talked to him, and he was like, sure, I'll do it. So she ended up, because of me, got a master's degree in like 6 months, not taken away from her intellect or her education or her family ties or anything like that, but I had a big part of that. Well, while I was at school, I was played Mr. Mom. The kids were always with me. Always had them with me at builds, and while I was directing things and doing things. Well, during that time, I was also doubling my major in safety. Well, she had a couple relationships that I guess I wasn't supposed to know about, but I knew about. The one that really upset me, that kind of let me know where she was I made a friend in Oklahoma City. And after I moved to Durant, I'd go back to Oklahoma City every now and then and see him and say hi. And while I was doing a play, I was cast as the lead in a show that he was in at a college that we met at the year before he was in the play. So I was like, hey, come see this play. Come stay the weekend with me. Well, he ended up having sex with my wife in our children's guest room that weekend. And I never said anything about it. Like, I woke up, I heard it. My kids were there. I kind of like leaned back down and waited, and then I got up to go see, and then by that time, he came out and he was like, oh, Nicole said she had a call and she had to leave. She was on work call or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, man, whatever. He's like, yeah, and I'm out of here, I'm leaving. I'm like, okay, cool, man, it was good seeing you. Thanks for coming by. And I never heard from him again. Well, when that happened, I was interviewing for a job, and I'm always about love. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what I'll do for you. I'll just give you everything I am. But I'm only asking these couple things. I need to smoke until I get to the point to where I don't want to smoke anymore. Well, it wasn't really a lot, I was asking for. Well, I interviewed for a job with my safety side, and I was offered a position that they offer one civilian every 3 years. And I told my wife, and she was like, no, I'm going to start teaching in Mesquite, Texas. I got a contract for you. And I'm like, okay, well, we can make it happen. I'm like, look, I'm like, this is very prestigious. No, I got a teaching job. So she got a teaching job during my last year of college. She started commuting with another guy, going back and forth, and then I'd find like matchbooks from hotels and different things like that. And I never said anything. I just kept letting it eat at me and eat at me, and I was just building up so much resentment and discontent and hatred, really, that it all compounded on me. I was working at Radio Shack for like $6 an hour. We had to buy a house, and we did all this stuff, and all my time was now away after I graduated. I'm making $6 an hour. I was very upset, and the whole time while I've been doing all this, all the family that needed me, I wasn't around for them. Well, I got upset and I left. I got upset because I hadn't seen my family in like 3 years. And I got upset. So I got in the car and I left. And I came here to Florida. And I called her and told her. In fact, the first 3 days I stayed in a hotel room in Texas. And I was just really angry. I was really upset. Because she kept telling me that that's not my family, we're your family now. And I'm like, what about the first 20 years of my life? I mean, even though they weren't the best, I'm like, this is still my family. Well, I came back here, and my friend earlier from the landscaping business, he did roofing too, and I was friends with his brother, and he comes to me, and I remember I had like $1,100 in my pocket, and I was going to start teaching. I was going to do everything I could to teach, because that was what my ex-wife used to complain about. I mean, she had the job that I'd always wanted, and she'd come home and just lay on the couch and complain about it. And I'm like, there's so many worse jobs in the world that people exude so much more labor and energy and make such less money and are in such depressions. So I came here. My friend's brother said, hey, Cook, Joey said that we'll give you $75,000, 10% commission, and $10 an hour. $75,000 at the end of 6 months, $10 an hour while you're working, and 10% commission. If you help us, this was in 2004 during the hurricanes. And it's right when I first came here. So I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. So I told my ex-wife at the time, or my wife at the time, I'm like, hey, look, this is what Joey said. And I'm like, I don't like that. I'm like, this will give me enough money to be able to take care of the bills and be able to do. So at first it was received all right. All the money I got, I'd put into the bank account. I'd always put the money in the bank account to take care of the bills, everything like that. Well, the more time that I was spending doing the hurricane relief, the more that I was noticing like they're not going to have the money to pay me. You know, at the rate that they're just throwing money away at like hotel rooms and these meals. And so I'm like trying to be intelligent. I'm like, look, let's just get a house. We'll rent a house. We're spending $300 a day on hotel rooms. We'll get a house for $900 a month. So I got a house in Daytona, which was a very bad decision on my part, because that's where my ex-wife sent paperwork that all caused the homelessness to begin. I remember I did a job. I was working really, really, really late. We had a truck go down on the side of the road, and I had to be a creative problem solver. And I ended up renting a U-Haul, and then moving the shingles from one truck to the other truck, and then doing this. And it was like a 32-hour straight, like from one day to the next. I remember I was just coming in, and it was like December 13th, or it was in December. And I'd got a call on the phone, hey, Cook, when are you coming back to the house? I'm like, dude, I've been working for like 30 hours straight, situating and fixing all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm actually on the highway now with Jake. We should be there in like an hour. Well, as soon as I get there, there's Volusia County sheriffs at the house. They're like, hey, are you Jeremy Cook? I'm like, yeah. What can I help you with? I need you to sign this. I got some paperwork. I signed it. He took off. I opened it up looking. Well, I'm supposed to be in Dallas, or Texas, in like an hour and a half for a hearing. And I'm like, this is impossible. I'm like, I'm not a millionaire. I'm like, how's this supposed to happen? So I called up my ex-wife, because I always felt like she knew everything about my life, and I never felt that she would betray me in such a way like this. So I call her, I tell her what's happening, and she's like, oh, it's just a proceeding, you know. And I'm like, look, I want to take my kids to Disney World with my family. You know, that was like one of my big arguments. So based off of that conversation that I had with her, then she got a restraining order preventing me from taking my children out of Collin County. Never done any violence, don't have any violent background. I mean, who doesn't bark every now and then, you know? But I mean, so then I was like really mad, and I got into a depression, like a serious depression. And the work didn't work out with my buddy. He ended up ripping me off, and this was going on. Then I was living out of my vehicle at that time. And I went to my grandma's, and she let me stay there. My Uncle Paul was in Kentucky with his girlfriend and his kids at the time, and I've always been one to like try to help out Grandma, because I've always seen her like get taken advantage of and used, and now it's been done in such a way that I can't even help. Oh God. So face of homelessness, right? We're getting there. It's a momentum, it's an evolution, it's a development. Well, when you have nothing, like I graduated high school and I didn't get nothing, I never got anything. No one. I worked for everything I had. Defended people that never deserved my defense. Well, when that happened, I was real upset, and I was now with nothing once again, except now I had a child support coming in now. That was very corrupt and fraudulent, that I didn't know about at first because it had been sent to my buddy and I didn't know about it. Corruption. People you're supposed to protect, you don't protect. It's all on knowledge. Well, at Grandma's, I was like, man, let me do some theater. I need to do some theater. So I went back. I started doing some theater, and while I was doing theater, I met a guy, and he was like, "Didn't you say you wanted to teach?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Let me help you." And I was like, "Oh, that'd be awesome." So he gave me the information that I needed to become a substitute teacher. So I went through and I became a substitute teacher. And while I was substitute teaching and prior to substitute teaching, prior to that, I tried to go into the military. I tried to get into OCS, but my ex-wife wouldn't call off the child support. And I'm like, look, it's fraudulent anyways. I'm like, look, if you can just stop it, I'm going to go in the military. It's going to help out our children. It's going to. She was just like, no. And at that time, I was only $30,000 behind in child support. And I know you're thinking that's a lot, but I've only been divorced since 2005. It's 2017 right now. I'm like $250,000 behind in child support, and I've never made more than like $10 an hour, except for the 3 years that I was contracted as a professional teacher. So that's like all fraudulent. I don't know how that happens. My research is that her mom was sorority sisters with the judge who oversaw the case. So you got this good old boy network of all this kind of stuff where people can paralyze you and try to keep you off the map, try to keep you from living. So I've become a master of, trying to get pennies, that people aren't worried about taking, like the ones out of the trash. I learned how to recycle. I learned how to talk to people who owned like little salvage yards and little antique shops and little resale places where I'd find something in the trash and I'd be able to take it to them and they would buy it from me, just to keep my insurance paid, to keep the phone bill going, to keep my food going. And that's kind of like how it's been, like the whole time. Well, I couldn't get in the military. I really tried to get in the military. I begged and asked, and that didn't happen. So I went back to doing theater. And then I got into substitute teaching. I did the substitute teaching. And then I was like, man, I'm like, I'm so good if I could just get in front of the right person and tell them my story. And then, so I was like, man, the only thing that I can do is like produce my own movie. So I'd written a script for the American College Theater Festival, and I talked to a guy named Gary, and he told me I was gifted and talented and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, wait until you're mid-30s and you'll grow into yourself, and don't push yourself too hard, and you're really good. So I took all that to heart, and I never really like pushed myself. I was just like, I just need to keep making momentum. I need to keep generating momentum and evolving. So I produced a script I wrote called Invasion. It's on my YouTube page if you guys want to watch it. And I tried to use that as like a business card to say, look, I'm capable of writing, creating, directing, shooting, prop making, lighting, like the whole thing, because that's the one thing I wanted to learn, so I'd never get taken advantage of, because I'd been on a lot of sets where got a lot of people just hanging around, and in my mind I'm like so poor and came from like nothing. I'm like looking at all this wasted money, and like these people get money for nothing, and like I'm like, I want to get money. I want to live. Well, I substitute taught, and then I was doing some more theater at another place, and I met another guy who was the theater teacher at a school that I was doing some substitute teaching in chemistry. And he was like, look, man, I can't take it, man. I can't take it. It was only his first year. He had signed a 3-year contract. He was like, dude, I can't take it, man. He's like, I'm leaving after this year. He was like, you want to take over for me? You want me to put in a word for the principal? This is a guy I met doing some Shakespeare. And I was like, sure, man, I'll take over. So I put in my applications and all that stuff, and tried to make like little highlight films and different things like that, and I got hired. Well, I thought my whole life was going to change at that point, because I finally got that $35,000 a year job. I wasn't making trash money. I wasn't stuck at $8 an hour or $6 an hour. I had a contract for 3 years, and I was going to make this much. So I called up my ex, and I'm like, look, can you please? No. So during those 3 years, I only brought in $500 every 2 weeks based off that, what I'm calling fraudulent child support, because it's impossible to give that much money. I don't care who your kids are, where they're from. I mean, if the person who made the children don't have the capability to pay that, it's impossible. It's impossible. So I was just constantly crippled. That amount just kept accruing and accruing and accruing. And then, I'm always being garnished because it's coming out of whatever I make. So I got me a second job at John Casablanca's as a director and an acting coach. And I kept that for a little while, but I wasn't making any money because all my money was going into gas, because that was a time where gas was like $4 a gallon. And when you make $500 every 2 weeks for 3 years, and your apartment costs $700 a month, and you haven't even put gas into that equation yet, you haven't put food in that equation yet, you haven't put lights into that equation yet, I lost everything that I ever had of value. All my jewelry, anything that I had of value, I lost during that time, to make sure that I kept a good name while I taught. Because I've been taught one thing, very important thing. You've only got 2 things in this world: your name and your word. And without them, you're nothing. So you have to be truthful to them and honest to them. And I want to defend whatever has been against me. And that's what people know, is I'm going to come with the truth. And I'm going to come with fire, the heat. Well, I did everything I could during those 3 years. I did great work with those kids. I even told my kids during that time, I'm like, I'm going to be homeless. I'm like, I'm being manipulated in such a way that I'm going to be homeless. And I'm like, I'm really going to need you guys, if you ever make it, to hire me. I don't care if it's just to take out the trash or sweep the floor. And everything I've said is pretty much right. So after those 3 years of teaching, we even won community service awards. And that's the one thing I really wanted to show them was, there's going to be people out there that are hungry, because I knew I was going to be one of those people. Well, at the end of those 3 years, I couldn't complete everything because I was fighting to live with the money I had, and I had to take money to pay for the other classes and courses and things like that I needed. And I went to my principal, and I went to my advisor, and I went to my mentor, and I went to the teachers union rep, and I went to everyone that I could and said, look, here's my situation. This is everything that's happened to me, and I don't know what to do. I have to win the lottery. The only thing that I know that can combat this and battle this is money. And they're like, you're right. There's nothing, we can't help you. Well, at the end of that time there, I was really wanting to be the father I never had. And that's where I met my second ex-wife, because I was just spending all my time at home. I went through like a 3-year celibacy thing, and my Uncle Paul had moved back from Kentucky with his kids, and he had met some other guy down the road, and, oh, you spend all your time inside, and I'm like, well, what are you supposed to do? I did all my running around as like a kid, in junior high. I don't want to run around, and I just want to, be planted. Well, he's like, why don't you come over to this house? So I went over to this house with him, and this dude was over there, and it was his ex-wife, and it was a really unique situation, and I have a hard time playing hero, like in real life situations, and that's the one thing that I've really learned now is that I'm not going to be baited and caught in those traps anymore. Same thing with that. That wife invited men into the house while I was sleeping, and her children even woke me up in the middle of the night. I was like, my mom's not here. Where's my mom? It's not cool when you make yourself vulnerable and you give yourself everything to someone, and all they're doing is looking for the next moment to get away from you. I mean, why be with someone like that? It doesn't make sense. I can't be that bad. I just look at it as I'm not blessed with that perfect body. Well, we got married and divorced within 6 months. Because I was like, I'm not doing this, and I haven't told Father God. I do a lot of praying, whatever you believe. Well, then I went back to my grandma's, and she was real upset. And you have to think that people are planting things in the mind, whatnot. But she didn't want me back. And I was like begging, I'm like, I'm teaching, I have nowhere to go, I'm in my car, because when you're only making $500 every 2 weeks, and then your significant other doesn't work, and you were doing everything to try to make everything good in their life without worrying about your own life, it's not a good situation. Well, I created a dialogue with my son, and it was October of 2012, and he was like, I really want to see you. I'm like, I really want to see you too. I'm like, look, this is the situation. I'm like, this is everything I have. I have $9,000 in a 401k that I can cash out and come see you, and that's it. And he was like, yeah, please come see me. So I cashed out that 401k. I gave $4,000 of that to my Uncle Paul to kind of like try to help out with some things at the house, and I got a Crown Victoria from him that I'd be able to drive, because he wouldn't just let me borrow it. It was like I had to pay for it. Well, after giving him that $4,000, and I had to do like a cash thing, it left me with $4,300 after my penalties and whatever. So I had $8,300 after it, gave him $4,000, and that left, $4,000, and then that left me with $4,300. Well, I packed up everything in the Crown Vic. I remember I got a new stereo because I was imagining my son sitting next to me, and I was like, oh, I got a DVD player with this, let's go for a ride. And I drove to Texas to Collin County, and I got a hotel room at one of those in-town suites for a week. I went to Best Buy and I bought a laptop. I was trying to do everything I could to where I could see my kids, contacting attorneys, lawyers, child support agency, Texas Attorney General. No one helped me. I had to be a Texas resident. I was a Florida resident. Well, she's an Oklahoma resident, and she hasn't been a Texas resident. So it was like this whole like webbing of like bullshit. Well, I talked to my son. He's like, yeah, come see me. Well, where I was 4 hours away from where they were. Well, I drove to go see him, and my ex-wife didn't let me see him. I was sitting in that Brahms parking lot for hours. Never let me see him. I remember I stayed in a Holiday Inn that cost me like almost $200 for one night because I asked my son. He's like, oh, we stay on this. There's a Holiday Inn right here. I'm like, well, I have enough maybe to stay there for a night, but I mean, I'm not rich. I mean, the money's going to run out. I don't have a way to keep it coming back. Well, I never got to see him, or I thought I saw him run across a parking lot, but that's at an age, you know, I think he was like maybe 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. So it's kind of like, I haven't seen him in so long, so you're like at a shot. So I thought I saw him like run around, like maybe look around something and then run. But in my mind and in my heart, I believe I had like the greatest relationship with both my children. Like, I don't know what I did wrong to him. I don't think I've ever done anything wrong to him except allow myself to be taken advantage of in these situations, which has caused my absence out of their life. Well, Texas couldn't help me because I'd have to establish residency there. And I had a contract going on in Florida at the time with the acting thing. So I had done all that and nothing, and then the next day I went to Oklahoma to try to see him. I couldn't see him, talk to him, and then I turn around, then I'm getting followed out of Oklahoma by like all these state troopers out of Durant into Texas, to Sherman. Like, they all turn their lights on like right at the like state line, and I'm like, well, that's because her whole family's involved in law enforcement, and what can I do? I'm from nothing. This is why I'm the new face of homelessness. Not a new face, but a face that's happened many, 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 many times. Well, now that I cashed out my 401k, I definitely don't have any money. I've got that child support amount that keeps accruing. Every time I get a job, they're taking half the money out pre-tax, so I can't get a regular job because it takes maintenance. You have to be able to maintain yourself. You have to have a place to sleep, have your clothes, take a shower, bathe. I've really tried to do like the whole working thing, like out the van and being a creative problem solver and like all these different issues, and it's very hard. It's very difficult. There are times where my body cannot go to sleep because of the heat and the humidity. I just can't go to sleep. Like, I try and I can't sleep. Well, from 2012 to now, that's 5 years. What's happened since then? I met another girl that I had known from my past, and I was having dreams that like we had a child together and this child needed my help. So I saw her, and it was never admitted that I had a child. Now, this is when I was 15 years old. There were several times during my childhood where I'd either fled my mother's house or moved out of my mother's house. Once when I was 13, once when I was 15, once when I was 17. So, but she'd always ask me back, I need your tax money or whatever it is, food stamps, or I don't know. Well, I started trying to make something happen with her, and that wasn't a good thing to do because it was all based on fraud anyways. being saying that I was a descendant who was created to make a descendant so someone else could become the guardian or custodian or guarantor or whatever all that legal stuff involves with family law and probate and wills and deaths and all that kind of stuff when it comes to family. Well, I stopped that relationship with her, and we had a house that was across the street from my grandma's house that I had a friend that I played football with whose parents had the house, and I would look over the house every now and then. I had mowed the yard every now and then, but they had some renters in there that left the house all trashed. And I remember the girl's son that I was with, he had a drug problem really bad, and he was in a rehab center and wanted to get him in a new environment. So I went to these people and I was like, hey, I'm like, this is the situation. I'm like, would you like to have someone in the house to maintain it while you sell it, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, yeah, sure. Well, it didn't work out for them. I ended up losing the job that I had with a friend of mine because I kept thinking that he was going to get right with me. But he's never going to get right with me because I was his excuse. I was his reason for his behavior and the reason to continue whatever it is that he wanted to continue. So I ended up staying in that house by myself, like home, like I was home. Everyone said I was squatting, like I was a squatter, but I'm like, look, I mow the yard, I take care of the house. When people call to come see the house, it's like I'm watching the house. This is what I'm doing. I'm securing the house. This is my job. Well, they went on a vacation to the Middle East, and then I got served with an eviction notice from her son. So I went through all those hearings, and then I filed a counter, and I claimed that from this amount of time to this amount of time, I should be awarded at least $10 an hour for security and at least $10 an hour for furniture in the home to show it while it was being sold. I never heard anything back from that, and I tried to get back into my grandma's house, and it was no, and that's because my Uncle Paul had taken over the reins and the leads on everything. So I contacted my cousin, and I stayed with her and her family for 2 months. And that really didn't work out. I did something wrong. I gave her my tax info number and claimed that she was an employee working for me, and so she could get her taxes off of all her children. And then after they got that and that money, they kicked me out. Like after a month, I got them $4,000, almost $5,000, and they kicked me out. So I was like, well, I already see where this is now. So then I went back to grandma's, and they still didn't let me in. So I started making a statement just by like sleeping in my van in front of the house. I'm like, this is the only home I've ever known my entire life. This is the home that my grandmother Juanita dropped me off at and said, this is going to be your new home. This is your family. So it's like I didn't really know anywhere else to go. And I was like just waiting for some love from somebody that was never coming. So I've been sleeping in my van in front of my grandmother's house since then, and I've been doing everything that I can to try to get jobs. I send out resumes and all that stuff, but I never get anything back. I don't know if people have hacked my stuff and they're just trying to make it to where like try to kill myself or something, but I'm never going to do that. So I'm stuck now. I need like some major change to happen in my life in order for me not to be stuck. And the only thing that I see it happening with is like finances. I have to win the lottery. I have to, go play my $20 and hopefully get a bad beat. It has to be significant enough to be changing. And I've just been bullied and picked on. You know, and I'm doing everything that I can to keep the freedom that I have. You know, I'm not trying to act out in any kind of negative way or evil way or corrupt way. I'm just trying to be that perfect reflection of like peace. Of like who's truly the strongest? Is the weaker truly the strong? So we see here, that's my little blood patch. And that's how I've been living since 2013. I think we can verify it from the plasma clinics that I've been at. They dropped the prices on a lot of the scrap metal, and someone had messed up a truck that I had, so now I've only got this van. I don't have anything else. Everything that I have and possess in the world is inside this van. And I don't want to lose anything that I have in my life, because my life has been very important to me, because I've been the one living it. I'm the one that's gone through it, and I don't care what anyone else thinks about anything. It's like the story of Job that just like kind of keeps helping me and helping me and helping me and helping me. But it makes me angry too, because I get in like some serious like arguments with Father God. And I know I shouldn't, but I do. And I ask for forgiveness. But I don't see anything that I've done that really in my life that would warrant this type of action. If you want to kill me, kill me. You know, put a gun to my head. Pull the trigger. Come get the biggest, meanest guys and have them come beat the brains out of me. But don't take away everything that I've worked for in my life that was tried to be taken from me over you trying to protect a lie, trying to defend yourself when you don't deserve defending. So now I do this twice a week. First time for 20, second time for 45. And I limit myself because of gas, so I can't really travel that far. And I try to get people to help me out. You know, and what I mean by helping me out is not like I'm holding my hand out saying, here, give me something. It's like, hey, can I mow your lawn? Hey, can I take your trash out? Hey, do you have anything that I can do for any type of money so I can feed myself? I don't get food stamps. I don't get any subsidies. I don't get any assistance. In fact, I'm really upset because this last Christmas I was scared that I wouldn't be able to eat. And I called up a place here that we call BEAM, Beaches Emergency Assistance Ministry. They're supposed to be, you know, Christian based, you know. They get all this donations and all types of stuff. And they had helped me out in the past. When I had an apartment, they helped me out with half my light bill. I gotta pee, hold on. Humid, it's very hot. Okay, the face of homelessness. Well, I'm kind of like on that upper end because I have a lot of pride. You know, and I'm defending and protecting the little things that I do have. And I also know how easy it is that I could lose them all. But it's like twice a week for like the last 4 years, aside from like getting a little $20 here, $10 there, you know, for doing a little job for someone. The next door neighbors to my grandmothers have been very, very sensitive and very helpful to me, and I've been very appreciative. And my Rasta brother, without those two specifically, those two families specifically, I'd be in a real bad place. Or at least my heart wouldn't be as optimistic as it is. I'm still very optimistic being 40 years old and where I am, because I know where I came from and I know everything that I've done righteously. I don't care what you think, really. You've got people making fun of homeless people parading about because they think they're popular. They think they're funny. They think they're humorous. But in reality, none of these people honestly know how to live in any way. They're fake. They're exaggerated. They're corrupt. Something about that whole Pied Piper thing. And that's what I saw happening. I'm probably going to make another video after this one, and I'll upload it, and it'll be everything that I've done like prior to this moment here. I've played cards a couple times. I've lost. I mean, I've won, I lost, but I'm only playing $20 at a time. I did lose the last time I played $60. I was mad, I was angry, I got dealt pocket kings, pocket aces, I was losing. I'm like, how you deal me pocket aces twice in a row and I lose with them? How can you deal me pocket kings and I lose with them? Deal me pocket deuces 4 times in a row and not 1-2 on the flop. I mean, I understand negative variance and stuff, but boy, this is ridiculous. Well, it's kind of like where I am right now. I think I've got a garden tour and some card playing and stuff like that. Hoping I didn't bore you too much. I've got some great ideas for a couple movies, but I've got to do everything independently because I have a hard time trusting people now because everyone that I've given my trust to has betrayed me in some way. I love you. Remain blessed. Stay beautiful. Smile more even when you don't have teeth. Love you.